Footballers Anonymous back in for the video. Finished up week 5, going into week 6. I'm Trey Seitz, Master Disaster. With me I have Rob Mattern with the Steelers Wheel.
How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We had Jay Knights versus Steelers Wheelers this week. Steelers Wheelers has a new top scorer in the league with 159 against Jay Knights, losing again with 83 points. What do you feel about that?
I was sitting there all day Sunday afternoon wishing I could take some of those extra points and use them in another week, but
yeah,
I'll take it, man. I had one of those weeks everybody showed up.
Well, I definitely think Peyton Manning did a phenomenal week. He had his first interception.
Right.
His first rushing touchdown. That was his first rushing touchdown in 5 years. The last time he had a rushing touchdown was in week 8 of 2008 after 7 straight wins, where Tom Brady and the Patriots came in for their first loss. And that was the last time he ran the ball. I think that's pretty amazing and outstanding to the explanation of a pocket quarterback. I mean,
right.
That's exactly what they're known for not rushing, and he totally duked the defense on that.
He's so good at what he does. He's one of those quarterbacks. He's always going to have a decent running back there because their defense is terrified of the pass. And with the receivers and tight ends and weapons that he has there this year, they're a scary, scary team.
Yeah, they definitely are. I think they need a standout running back, but what they got right now with the 1-2 go, sometimes the 1-2-3 go, it works out with them, and they don't need to put up the money for other people. So
right.
It really works out. We saw Colin Kaepernick go, one of the top quarterbacks. I believe he got drafted earlier than Peyton Manning did.
Yes.
I'm not 100% on that, but I believe that he was. Colin Kaepernick is a big disappointment this year, and Jay Knights took him way too early. What do you think about that?
That's one of those things. You can't blame Jay Knights. Coming off of last season, the 49ers were looking to be a high-powered offense, and with his double threat of running the ball and passing the ball, that's hard to pass up. I can't say I'm disappointed because I ended up with Peyton Manning out of the deal, so I can't blame the guy for taking him.
Saying that with Colin Kaepernick, that leads into the first trade of the season for the league. I mean,
yes.
There's been a lot of drops and pickups on the waiver wire, but the first trade, Matt Schaub, Vincent Jackson for Colin Kaepernick and Chris Johnson. Who do you think won out on this trade?
Honestly, at this point, Chris Johnson's the only person that's done anything out of those 4 people. Matt Schaub might be getting benched. There's that quarterback controversy going on there. He's thrown 4 picks for touchdowns in the last 4 games, set an NFL record, and that's not one that you want.
Yeah.
We talked about Colin Kaepernick, Chris Johnson and Vincent Jackson. Vincent Jackson's had a nowhere season too.
Yeah.
At the point of the trade, it was 4 guys that really hadn't done much. Chris Johnson's the only one, like I said, who showed up this week. He had 13 points, I think. The first trade of the year was this one that just happened, but I had traded Brandon Marshall before the season even started.
Yes, that's right.
I traded Brandon Marshall for Pierre Garçon. To this point, the 2 of them have fairly comparable fantasy numbers.
I didn't even realize that you had him, but you're right. He's had 2 games under 10, 2 games above 10, so he's doing decent for you.
Speaking of the trade with Victor's Wildcats, he played the 3 Sharks last week and had an opportunity to beat them.
Yeah, he definitely had an opportunity to beat 3 Sharks in the water last week. Victor's Wildcats. Disappointing. I know work gets involved, and sometimes you can't make last-minute decisions. Just so you know, we did kick someone out of the league for stuff like this. Just saying. Just putting it out there. We had a guy that deployed and couldn't switch his roster around. Hey, that's no excuse in this league. Okay? Doing that with Calvin Johnson, big mistake. You cost the league an opportunity to have 3 Sharks in the water at 1 loss by week 5. So I was a little bit upset. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how everyone else felt about it, but I mean, the potential was there. Who knows who you would have put in? You know, there's no guarantee that you would have put someone in that scored 30 points because that's how much you lost by, but still, pay attention. Tom Brady having an awful season so far. 5 points this week. He ended his 52 touchdown streak. That takes a long time to get to 52 games of scoring at least one throwing touchdown.
Yeah, it's an amazing streak. Every once in a while, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, one of those guys come up with this long streak of something that you don't realize is happening as it's going on, but then as it builds and it becomes 52, 60 games, whatever it is, it comes to light and you're just amazed by what these guys can do.
I've always thought Tom Brady a solid quarterback. I'm not a fan of him. He's in a great system that works for his type of quarterback. The short passes, none of the real deep ones. I don't feel he's a very accurate deep threat. In fantasy, he's one that I always thought for sure would get you over 15 points, maybe even around 20 every week. This season, he has one game with 20 fantasy points. Next to that, 2 games at 15 and lower than that for the other 2 games.
The way that the league is now and fantasy is scored, to have 5 points as a quarterback, you're going to have a running back who's going to have 55 yards in a game and no touchdowns. And it's going to happen, and you're going to expect that. But for a quarterback to have 5 points in a game, it doesn't happen very often.
Reggie Bush, I'm surprised with Reggie Bush. I thought he would go a lot earlier than he did in the draft. I am not positive, but I'm going to take a guess he went around 6th or 7th round. I was going to try and pick him up if he was still left on the round that he got drafted, and I was a little bit upset at Three Sharks in the Water for taking him. But, this is his 7th year in the league, and this is his best team he's been with since the Saints. The Saints used him. They drafted him. They used him in the same running style that the Lions are using him. But Miami, he fell off there a little bit, coming back into this running format that they run at the Lions. I think it's a perfect fit for him. I think he's getting a little old now, but if he can stay healthy, I think he'll have a phenomenal season.
I agree, and I've been somewhat to this point disappointed in his career. I thought coming out of college, coming out of USC, that he was going to come into the NFL and he was going to blow stuff up. And when Mario Williams was drafted ahead of him, I thought, man, this is a big mistake. This kind of player only comes around once in a lifetime. It's a Gale Sayers, it's a Walter Payton type of guy. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's there, and having Joique Bell on my bench now, if he gets hurt, I'm not going to be so upset, but
he's a good handcuff to have on your bench. That's why I have Bryce Brown.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. LaShawn McCoy is the same way. He's bound to get hurt at some point. All right. So Master Disaster at Flea Flicker. I thought her beating you was going to put me into second place.
I thought the same thing. I thought it would go by points scored at that point. It appeared that's how third place, all the 2-2 teams they were all lined up by points scored. Now, I'm not sure if it is because I'm in the other division from the rest of you, or if it's because I have less points allowed than the rest of you. So I know that calculates into it, but from my understanding, it goes by your stats overall with your wins and losses. If that's a tie, then it goes to points scored, and if that's a tie, it goes down to points allowed. But that's not the case right now. You have more points than me in points scored, but it says I'm in second place. So I don't really understand it, but hey, whatever. I'm happy. I'm still in second place. It's going to happen sometime.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool. I'm all right with it.
Michael Vick came in. I picked up Michael Vick near the end of the draft. It was a late pickup. I don't think anyone else was even slightly interested in him. To tell you the truth, I wasn't even interested in him. my theory on it was I would rather have Michael Vick blow up on my bench as opposed to on someone else's bench. And now that he started to do that, this new offensive scheme is playing out for the best, but Michael Vick's not going to last the whole game the entire season. I was just hoping this week that he would at least last until the fourth quarter. I always say that I'm happy as long as everybody scores me double digits. He did that. He got me 11 points in the first half. Not a terribly disappointing week, but I think he's going to be benched for a while. I'm going to have to put some faith in RG3 again.
Have you thought of hitting the waiver wire for a quarterback? Because I don't know if RG3 is I don't know, it's kind of shaky at this point.
I did hit up the waiver wire for another quarterback, but I turned around and I canceled it.
Oh, yeah?
I think I'm going to stick with RG3 this coming week, which is a very tough decision because they're playing against Dallas. But, I like Dallas's defense right now. Ware is in and out of being injured, so that's a tough hit on them. I'm going to try RG3, and depending on how he does, I have another quarterback that I'm very interested in. Right now, I just don't have the bench space for him. That's why I canceled. I didn't like giving up Vic, and I don't want to put Vic out there for somebody else to pick him up. So, what do you feel about Arian Foster?
Yeah, he's been good this year. I don't know if it's first round worthy, but
I think it's first round worthy. A lot better than Colin Kaepernick. First round worthy. I think he is a must-have player. You can't allow somebody else to pick him up if you have the opportunity to.
Right.
But on that same note, I think you should have Ben Tate as well. And Ben Tate is still sitting on our waiver wire. Now, granted, there are better people on the waiver wire than him, but when Arian Foster gets injured, he's going to be the go-to guy.
All right, the last game is Supermom and Lucci's Winners. He pulled that one out, didn't he?
Yes, he did. 103-83.
That's right.
And, Kristen was not upset at all about this, John. She knew that you were going to beat her, and she is okay with it. Don't call here and talk to her about it. And that's the end of that. She's having a hard time right now. She's got good players on her team. It's just a matter of them showing up when she plays them. It's so hard to predict. One of my big theories in fantasy football, I don't like any Green Bay or New Orleans wide receivers. They throw the ball to too many people.
I think you got to throw Denver in there.
Now with Denver, yes. But then again, Wes Welker, I love Wes Welker. Yes. I wanted to pick him up this year. Nobody in either one of those offenses do I want to pick up.
I mentioned that too because she has Demaryius Thomas on her team also, who I think is one of the best wide receivers in this league. I really do. Watching him play and just even seeing the backstories I've seen on him, he's a really good guy, and I think he's got a really bright future in this league.
She's got a lot of potential on her team right now. She's got Demaryius Thomas. She's got Jamal Charles. She's got James Jones. It's all people, and I even like she has Rashad Mendenhall. No, Ray Rice is a solid pickup. I'm talking right now about people that are hit or miss.
Oh, okay.
It's so hard to predict. And I put Jamal Charles in that category. I know a lot of people wouldn't, but for me, he's hit or miss, in my opinion. Now, John here picking, I don't know if you remember this during the draft, but for me it was one of the most memorable moments of the draft.
Janikowski,
of course. I believe it was round 7 that he picked up Janikowski, and I don't know if it had anything to do with me telling him that he's going to be on my team this year, that I'm going to pick him up because John takes him from me every year. I was going to pick him up in round 13,
right?
Not round 7. He could have waited another 3 or 4 rounds and still been safe, but it's not paying off for him as much as it has every other year. I mean, he has one game that's 13, one game that's 12, but other than that, it's not showing off too well for him. Des Bryant. The Cowboys almost fall into that roster with me with Green Bay and New Orleans, but if they're available at the right time, I will take them. I enjoy Miles Austin. I enjoy Des Bryant. And every time they pick up a new third wide receiver, they do good. I had Garrett Robinson 2 years ago. He did great for me at the end of the season. I don't know who they have right now for their third wide receiver, but I think Des Bryant is a good pickup. I don't recall what round John got him, but he's doing solid for him. 20, 20, 24. And then the wide receivers always have those weeks where he had 2 and 9. He's healthy. That's his big problem. He's constantly getting injured, but he's healthy this year, so I think he's a good player this year.
I agree. It's like any wide receiver. You're going to have your up weeks, you're going to have your down weeks, but he's got a lot of upside. He's a decent size wide receiver, and he's got good speed, and he's got a good quarterback throwing to him.
All right, the Week 6 matchups, we got Steelers Wheels against myself. I guess we'll find out who is number 2 and who is number 3 in the league. 3 Sharks in the Water against Supermom. 3 Sharks, it's time for you to take a loss, and I think it's going to be dealt to you this week.
Then we've got Lucci's Winners against Jay Knights. And see if Jay Knights can finally get his first win after starting at 0-5. And then we've got Flea Flickers against Victor's Wildcats. So that's another situation like you and your wife. A little domestic battle there going on.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully Felicia will show the league champion what she's really made of. And depending on who wins those games, it'll come down to Lucci's Winners and Flea Flickers in 4th and 5th. Because me and Rob definitely are going to hold 2nd and 3rd down.
Yeah, well, and there's 4 of us right now who are all sitting at 3 and 2. So there's still a lot that's up in the air, and that can happen from this point on.
Well, we'll see what happens here in Week 6, and we'll see everyone next week. This is Master Disaster signing out.
And this is Rob. See you guys later, and good luck this week.
What's that noise?
I don't know. I think were you bumping your computer? Were you moving it or something?
It's quite possible. It sounded like a dog burping or something. I was like, what the hell?
Nice.